come in at 7, they leave at 3.
Unless they have something else to do, right?
In which case they're here till it's done.
Right.
You got it.
Meetings are always starting at 3.
God willing.
Okay. I'm a teacher, and I work about an hour away, so I get off at 2. So I'm going to
Where you
probably
coming
not
from?
be here exactly at Rockland County.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew Brian said you were a high school chemistry. I said, I thought, no, it couldn't be across the street.
Well, it might be a problem in the
No,
winter.
I used to be an Ontiora,
Okay.
but with the budget cuts about 6 years ago, I was excessed. So I'm down in Rockland. So, but it's it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Sorry,
I mean, until I retired a couple of years ago, I was in the same boat. I worked in Albany,
right.
and I worked till 5 o'clock. But I would take off early on Wednesdays for board meetings. And
Meetings used to be at 7 at night. And I went to 4, and then when everyone but Al and I retired, I went.
Actually, it's better for you guys because you're here.
Oh, we're here anyway. No matter when we have the meeting, it's part of my job to be here. So I have no input into that. That's fine.
I think this has been working out pretty well.
Yeah, we'll just take that into consideration because you can't always put that on track.
Yeah, it's usually okay, but if there is an accident, forget it. It'll take me 2-3 hours to get home.
I was
Relax on me, okay.
I was coming down from Saratoga area on Sunday, and I couldn't figure out why my GPS was throwing me off.
Yes.
Sort of. With my sister, and she gets on the internet on her phone, and she said, "Milk truck." Well, they were literally. I got off at Sorbity's, and the taillights they were backed all the way up to Sorbity's because it doesn't take much to back it up.
No, especially on a Sunday night. You got everybody going down, going back.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's what it was.
Yep.
So other than Bill, who's not coming.
Well, we about ready to
I mean,
go.
I think Jim was coming to the meeting, but he'll be here if he's coming to the meeting.
Okay. Speaking of the devil,
He's coming from Westchester.
speaking of the
My
devil.
sister teaches in Pearl River.
There he is.
Yeah.
All righty.
There's the guy I got the question for right there.
Call this meeting to order. And we welcome our new commissioner.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sesh. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
That's a couple months in a row now we got new people.
Change is good.
Well, seems to be
I'm glad she's bringing the average age down in this room.
It's like Tom plus average.
Oh, we forgot to tell you.
No
Dollar plus
No
average.
offense. No offense, you guys.
None taken.
Representative.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
We're all right.
they're harmless anyway.
Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting, anybody have any problem?
No, I move to accept.
All right, Dennis, Bob, Gary?
Yep.
All right. Bills and accounts?
No problem.
Okay, Bob? Bills and accounts. Who's going to second that?
I'll second it.
All right, Abel, second that. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And, okay, we'll move on from there. Alrighty, we'll get request from UC Soil and Water Conservation for temporary easement.
Right, I think everybody got that in their packet.
Yes.
I think I went through a little description on,
Well, you actually talked about it in the previous meeting.
I did, and I thought I put some,
You did.
yeah,
You did.
mid-Powell Stream stabilization.
Right.
We were approached a month ago by Adam Doan from Ulster County Soil and Water Conservation. They're a vendor, they have a contract with the New York City DEP. to coordinate the stream stabilization in the Ashokan watershed. Our watershed is wholly contained in the Ashokan watershed. So some time ago, there's a federal component of this that the town of Woodstock neglected. They refused to, or declined the offer to have the work done. So we don't have the federal share available, but New York City is willing to fund this. All they're asking is that we allow Ulster County Soil and Water to have the engineers that they contract with to do the investigation and also have access through our property during construction. The slides are actually on our property that they're trying to stabilize. So this is kind of a win-win for us. We have to allow access through our watershed lands. There'll be no permanent construction, no permanent negative impact on our property, and we'll have the opportunity. Hopefully this will be able to not only improve water quality for us, but for New York City as well. So I would ask the board to approve that. I circulated the blank of the agreements. Bill Cloonan has reviewed those. I've since had the folks over there fill in our names in the appropriate tax parcels. And I would ask that you allow either, approve it so Joe can execute them, or I will execute them if you say, it doesn't matter.
So the Mink Hollow, though, is part of, they mentioned stream management plans here.
The Beaver Kill?
Well, it says Esopus Creek, Stony Clove, and Broad Street Hollow.
Where does it say that?
On the very beginning of the agreement, under whereas.
That's on the one that we're going to sign. Yes, that's the wrong one.
Oh, okay.
The ones that we're going, this is for the Beaver Kill, which is the Mink Hollow Stream.
So there's a similar one, but instead of...
It says, whereas the Beaver Kill Restoration
Okay.
Project at Van Hoagland Road was identified as a priority. That was the blank they used, and once we executed, we'll give you a copy of it.
Okay.
In the Beaver Kill. That was just for your...
Just so we can look at
So
the
it's
language.
the blank and the language.
That first
Yes.
paragraph is obviously changed with the
Correct.
more appropriate
To identify the right,
designation.
right. The work
And
on
so
this-
ours is actually the Beaver Kill?
Beaver Kill's another one, that's what Mink Hollow is known as. Mink Hollow is a branch of the Beaver Kill. So it's the Beaver Kill restoration, yes.
Now, is that a different part of the Beaver Kill that's down in Sullivan County?
Yes.
Or is it all?
There's lots of Beaver Kills in New York State, I believe. Is that not correct? I don't know.
I know that on the other side of the West Dike,
It's-
where goes the Beaver Kill, so
Yeah.
that's where.
On some maps, you'll see it
I
identified.
know, working in Sullivan County all the time, we had a couple of different, at least we had
There's-
Beaver
There's
Kill.
more than one Beaver Kill.
Okay.
There's a lot of different streams named the same name,
Yeah,
Okay.
but they had to clarify that in saying Beaver Kill, Ulster County, or
correct.
Okay.
And that's why the Beaver Kill Stream Restoration Project at Van Hoagland Road,
yeah.
that's the Mink Hollow Stream. That's what we refer to as the Mink Hollow Stream,
Right,
which on some maps is identified as the Beaver Kill.
right.
Now, who's paying for this?
New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as they're paying for it, we're right.
The funding comes through the DEP, there's a consortium, the Ashokan Watershed Organization. It's called the Ashokan Watershed Stream Restoration. It's a consortium of New York City DEP, which is where most of the funding comes from, Ulster County Soil and Water, who really are the contract operators who manage these projects, soliciting the engineering expertise and actually hiring, going out to bid and getting the construction firms, and Ulster County Cornell Cooperative Extension, who do the community outreach and the education component. Part of this program is to teach people how to actively protect the streams, how not to erosion, what not to put in your septic system, that kind of stuff, because it all ends up, or non-point sources of pollution kind of thing. We certainly aren't involved with Cornell on that, but we will be dealing with Ulster County Soil and Water.
So how much of this stream or Beaver Kill are they actually going to be doing?
There's two locations right around the Van Hoagland Bridge, and there's one of which has been, ever since I've been here, there's a very steep slide. It comes from Van Hoagland's very steep, if you ever look that road. So the Mink Hollow Road is here, and then there's our property is the town of Woodstock's bridge, the four corners of the bridge abut our property. We own all the adjacent, all four corners.
Is that the one they just repaired?
That's the one, where they had the temporary over.
Okay.
It's very steep. I mean, if you walk up there, it's quite a climb. And there's a very steep hill, and the pitch is like this. And the trees have fallen over, and it's just, in every spring, right after the freeze thaw, it just chugs mud right down.
So
And
they're
then
after doing the work on that part of the stream
on
now?
both. They're gonna put armor stones, yes, above and a little bit below. There's two locations. Above our intake,
Mhm.
both of which are accessed through the same parcel, both of which are on our property. And they're hoping by putting these armoring stones down below, they'll create a bench that eventually will get filled back, and it will gradually lessen the
Because I
slope.
was wondering what they meant by bench. I'm envisioning
You're not the same, Joseph,
a big...
what do you mean bench? Yes, and that was I should explain that, yes. And so,
I'm only concerned that somebody else reads it. And,
no, it was, yeah, that's what I meant,
It's a geological study.
I guess, or construction
next thing
firm
you
or
know,
whatever,
we're on the front page of the paper.
creating a new park with benches. Yes. So, that's what that was about.
You need a motion on that.
I do.
I'll move it.
One second.
Okay, second by Bob. Okay.
They'll do the engineering,
And
they'll start the engineering now, and they'll do the work, it'll probably be construction in 2016 season. Obviously, the work has to be coordinated with the DEC, they'll obtain all the permits, and the work will have to be done after May 30th and before September 1st,
No, so it's October 1st, I thought.
October 1st, I'm sorry, for trout season. Just like any work in that stream you have to
It's
make.
just one of those little pieces of trivia you gotta pick up.
You'll pick up,
I've only been here 2 months ahead.
when
You pick
trout's
this
spawning
stuff up.
season is in the Mink Hollow.
So you'll be coming back with plans anyway from...
Yes, I declined the offer, frankly, to have our consultants approve their consultants' plans, because that's never a fruitful exercise. But at 60% design, they're gonna give us the plans for our comment.
Okay.
And so we can provide them to Jim and Greg, and they can make, comments on
That was
what.
one of my questions.
Yes, yes.
Decided not
And they will coordinate with Derek, when they're gonna be out, we'll know when they're on the property. Well,
Well, when you've seen the damage on the streams throughout the Catskills, doing this is,
Irene really nailed us pretty well. I mean, we're still seeing the effects, and most of this is as a result of Irene. We're still cleaning up, and that's been 4 years, so we're still working on it. So, anyway, No, I'll fill those in.
You're gonna fill them in?
Yeah, we'll
All
fill
right,
them.
I'll just sign it.
yeah. The reason for the two is one is for the actual construction easement, and one is for the engineering investigation.
Today's the 19th. Yeah.
Oh,
I looked all over these things
and my issue is the new copy machine, I always forget to tell it not to duplex. So that's why it's back in front. Sorry.
Checks in the mail, Joe.
Checks in the mail, all right. You get a piece of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Make hollow intake improvement.
Okay, that's why Greg is here. He met with us earlier in the day to go over stuff with, the budget and go over the actual progress of the work with Derek and myself. I think we had mentioned previously that those improvements would be about $250,000. We think they're going to be significantly less. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 maybe, or less? Or less.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed, yes. And the reason we don't have a specific number is because some of the general contracting firms that we asked for installation costs, they're not going to give him numbers till tomorrow. So we have most of our numbers, but not all of them. Just to bring you up to speed, this really involves, we have an intake on the Mink Hollow stream. It was a replacement in kind that was destroyed. The original was destroyed in the flood in 2010. We did a replacement in kind. We found that there's certain restrictions and we actually can't take as much water as we did previously. So we're in the process of...
The restrictions were physically in the building,
Correct.
not by restriction by law.
No. We're able to take much more water than we can physically get in the building because the opening in the concrete just isn't big enough. Pretty simple, actually. So we're proposing to cut some new holes. We're going to do the work. We're going to buy all the materials and have contractors do the work that really we don't have the capability to do. So I think the cost that Greg has sized the holes to make sure that they're appropriate and what we have to do. The cost of the concrete cutting is about $26,500. The cost of the gates is about a little under $13,000. The gates to close and open. I'd have some trash racks on the outside. We don't know what the install on that will be. It looks as if maybe we can install those ourselves. We're waiting on some other quotes. But all in all, we're probably looking at $150,000 or less. The quotes we have right now are about $60,000 for some of the equipment. I can't imagine that the installation that we can't do is going to exceed another $60,000. So I would ask that, and if you have questions on how this is going to be done, the progress, that's why Greg is here. He'd be happy to answer any of these questions. But I would ask the board to consider, because of the timeliness in getting this done, the concrete has to be cut between now and October 1st. So that allow me to proceed as long as the cost does not exceed that amount. Because I think the last time we talked, we thought the costs were going to be around $250,000. Fortunately, things are much less expensive than we anticipated.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Judy up to $150,000 to retain the appropriate contractor to do the work and whatever needs to be done.
Okay, second that?
I have some questions.
Yes.
I would have been disappointed.
So, Greg's in the process of drawing up plans for this.
Not exactly. We're not going to do. Well, obviously there's some sketches, but not full bid documents.
Okay.
Because he's broken the project down into very specific components that we can contain our costs if we don't go out and do full bid documents. We're going to purchase the equipment. We're going to install some of the equipment, and we're going to hire somebody to install. Like, for instance, we cannot cut the concrete. That much we know. So we know we've gotten 3 bids for the concrete. We know the one that we want is $26,500.
Okay, so prior month or two ago, we authorized hiring Chanel and Greg
Yes.
to do what?
Well, first thing we had to do is we had to identify where the rebar was, and then we had to figure out spatially how big the openings could be, so so that we didn't structurally compromise the building. And that's really a lot of the work that he's done. So Greg, I
So
don't
it's
want to...
basically engineering work that we hired him for as an
Correct.
engineer.
Correct.
To, I guess, consult as opposed to actually design plans.
We developed recommendations for the department to implement, essentially. And we've identified a lot of vendors, fabricators, and contractors who can provide the various things that are part of the project.
Okay, then you're, as part of that fee, you're also then overseeing the process or inspection of the process?
Yes. To the extent that we require them to do whatever, yes, they will. Make sure that the gates are installed or whatever, yes. That was part of that.
So, just to be clear, that we have a contract for that piece. The 25 was for the preliminary piece.
Mhm.
The balance is for the be out there, coordinate with the contractor during the construction.
Time and materials basis.
So that's an as needed,
Mhm.
up to,
For instance, the grades. There's several places we can get these grades from. They're all fabricated, so the fabricator would have to submit to Greg to review the design, because it's not like you can go on the shelf and say, okay, I want that grade. So they'd have to design what they're going to fabricate, and he'd have to approve that.
As opposed to him designing a plan and sending it to the fabricator
I
to
want
make.
this.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. We're having conversations.
Because generally, in the past, you would design a plan and you would ship it out. A contractor would get subcontractors or vendors to complete it according to the plan that was designed.
Because this is such a small project, this is a much less expensive way for us to act as our own general contractor.
But there was another component of it, even to me when we first brought this up, and that was that this has to be done by October 30th, or September 30th.
The holes have to be cut by then.
Right.
The work in the building, the gates won't be here by then. I mean, it would be a miracle if they showed up, because they have to be made.
Yeah, but I want to put this in perspective so I can get more of an education.
Okay.
Getting this done raises the capability of delivery down from the main column system down to Cooper's Lake from what to what? Per day or whatever.
34.34 million gallons a day, something like on that neighborhood.
Well,
It's a substantial
the
increase.
question sounds easy.
It does. It does.
But what we're trying to do is raise the capacity of the system, so we can deliver more flow to Cooper Lake
Right.
for it to be stored, so it can be used when needed.
Right.
So that the difference in the safe yield value, I think it's in the memo there. It's about was it
0.34.
Okay, 0.34 million gallons per day on the average. So specifically, you'll be able to deliver more on an instantaneous basis from Main Hollow to Cooper Lake because of the improvements.
Well, first, my question was, I'm new here, and obviously she's new here,
Correct.
and we have people visiting, and it being a
I'm
time is
glad to explain it to any degree that's necessary, so don't worry about it.
I do. That's why I have white hair. 0.34 increase in gallons. What does that mean roughly?
0.34 million gallons per day.
Million gallons per day.
I'm sorry. It's 0.34.
Million gallons
300.
per day.
No, I understand, but I'm just trying to get down to the twofold level so everybody will understand. It's a
I got it.
substantial increase. It's worth doing and getting it done.
Especially given the price tag.
Well, given the time frame, because you got 40 days now.
Right.
So you'll
It is the
do
19th of
I know.
August.
And we're actually, not to jump ahead, but we're actually starting to clean out of the main hollow tomorrow. We've had the permit since June. We have not been able to get in there. Tomorrow's the first day. The water has been much too high, which is a good problem.
Yes.
We'll be in there tomorrow and Friday.
And where did we identify the money coming from?
Our capital improvement fund.
Okay.
Unless Al's got it stored in his drawer or something. He's not telling anybody.
He's got a secret code.
Yeah, I know.
It's not in the books.
Give it to me, Al.
guess we're gonna vote.
Well, oh,
Your vote.
yes, we gotta vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Karen?
Thank you.
All righty.
And I'll keep everybody up to date and we'll get those.
Right on. Okay. Phase 1B, filter plant.
Okay, Tom Lawson from CDM, another one of our engineering consultants, and CDM has done a lot of the upgrades on our treatment plant and those kinds of issues for us. And on Cooper Lake, Tom is a partner with Schnabel. Tom's firm and Schnabel are working on that project together. Tom is just about, we did this project previously. We got one bid, which was significantly above the money that we thought, both Tom thought we should spend, that was reasonable to spend on it, and what we had the ability to pay for in terms of the bond. We don't have anything else.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
So we're cleaning up and making some changes in the bids to make certain non-essential items that relate to the structure of the building deletable if we decide that's how it has to be. And so those bids are being redone, and I believe we should be ready to go in a couple weeks, be out to bid on those and returnable probably September, October? Early October? Yeah, October, that was the time frame. So nothing really has changed in that. That project is funded through storm mitigation loan program. It's 25% of that money will be in the form of a grant, and the balance is in zero interest loan. So there's three components for that. One would be the filter plant renovations with the improvements to our filters. The other would be a new generator for one of our pump stations, and the third is a system-wide SCADA system, so we can remotely operate things and don't have to physically be there. So in total, that was a $2.7 million loan, grant zero interest loan, of which the filter plant is the $1.7 million. It's the biggest component. So we're getting that ready. Tom is starting, he's on vacation this week. He will be back on Monday. He's going to start the SCADA work, and the foxhole work is just about done. So we should be ready to put a bid on those.
When you talk about SCADA, can you explain that?
Yes, it stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, which doesn't tell me any more than the abbreviation does. Basically, it's...
But you're going to tell us more.
Absolutely. It's remotely operating your facility. It's being able to monitor, to see what your pumps are doing, what your tanks are doing, what your reservoirs are doing, the filter plant, what that's doing. We have small, and then being able to control that from outside. So you would be able to, through an authorized, your laptop, you have the appropriate controls and passwords, very much like you can see what's happening at your company, we'd be able to say, the Pearl Street tank's ready to overflow, let's shut it down. Currently, we have to actually go there and physically turn the pump on. So we have some smaller, like our new Bidding Water UV treatment facility is all SCADA controlled, and the plant can see that. And internally in the plant, within the plant, they can monitor it from, I can sit here and look at it.
Can you explain to her what Bidding Water Reservoir is?
It's our distribution reservoir. We treat the water, and it flows into this 12 million
You treat
gallon.
the water, bring her, she's new, bring her down, right in Sawkill Road.
Water starts at Mink Hollow, goes into Cooper Lake, which is our source water storage reservoir. Flows by pipe to our Edmund T. Coonan water treatment plant on Sawkill Road in the town of Woodstock.
Okay.
From there, it's piped, and this is all by gravity.
And it's all on the map right behind you, too.
It is. It is. And then from there, it's piped into a 12 million gallon open storage reservoir built in 1927. And that provides...
And where's that?
It's in the town of Ulster.
It's on the Sawkill Road between...
Yes, it is. It's on the Sawkill Road. But it's not something that we advertise
That's
because
a
of security issues.
purpose. Right.
Okay.
That's all. But it is on that map.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's a man-made 12 million gallons. Water flows from the plant by gravity into that reservoir, and from there into the city. So essentially it provides the pressures that we need in the city. And if everybody flushed their toilet at the same time, it would prevent that water hammer from, it's very difficult to match production and demand. And so that's kind of our safety relief valve. Back in, I don't know when the regulation came through, but probably 2007, 2008, they said, you know what, that's not a really fine idea to have
Surface treatment.
surface. Yes. The EPA came out with a rule and said if you have, there's lots of open air distribution, so you treat the water and then you let it sit in this open reservoir to be contaminated again. And we've always chlorinated after that. But chlorination doesn't take care of protozoans and viruses and certain things. So we had to put a UV system in there, and 12 million gallon UV plant. So we essentially have 2 treatment plants. And from there it goes into the city. 2 small areas of town are fed through pump stations because they're above elevation 340, which is the flow line of any water.
Okay.
So that's the Pearl Street Tower.
Yes, Pearl Street tank, 600,000, and Florence Street, $500,000. Florence Street serves both sides of Broadway from the Benedictine Hospital along East Chester Street, and Pearl Street goes all the way out to the boulevard, but all the way as far as Edson School. So it's kind of these 2 small, it's hard to, you have to look, I'll show you the map, it's hard to see where they are, but that's where they are. And we have another tank that flows normally by gravity that keeps Golden Hill full of water. That's Blood Street tank. We can take that if you want.
And you took the words right out of my mouth.
No, you have to see it to really
It's your favorite thing to do every year, isn't it?
We need to do that.
Yeah.
And you got to give me like a day. It either takes 2 afternoons or 2 mornings or 1 whole day. It takes a long time. So, yes.
Well, maybe we can do that before I go back to school,
When do you like to start?
September 9th.
Yes, we can, because I come back from vacation on the 2nd.
Okay.
So yes, that's good. That'd be great.
And all this work on the filters can be done in the winter.
Absolutely.
No restrictions, right?
Absolutely, because it's all inside heating, so.
And they will actually get some better bidders.
That's the hope. Wouldn't you agree with that, Jim? That, I mean, the timing is everything.
Last time we had restrictions, right?
Well, you had the union, the PLA stuff with the.
Yeah, that's still going to be there also, right?
apprenticeship.
We have the apprenticeship issue.
Right, that's still there.
But there was at least one other firm that was qualified to bid because of that apprenticeship program who declined to bid because they were too busy. So they may not be too busy anymore.
Right,
So
and
we're
the
hoping.
bid specs also had time frames about when
Yes.
the contracts were going to start and when it had to be completed by. And if that was something that we dealt back in the springtime, it's probably, construction was going to be through
Right.
the summer, so
It
now,
Yes.
would have been now, actually.
Right,
If
so
you had-
hopefully
as
now-
you awarded it back then.
if we award it in the
Right.
wintertime, maybe it will be,
Right, and that generally, the contractors like to work in the winter, they don't have a lot of work, so it's a nice pickup job.
Yeah. So we're hoping. As I say, one of the things that scared the lone bidder that we had, and he was very upfront about it, was included in that contract was structural work on the columns in the plant to hold up the mezzanine, which will become clear when you see other things. So, it was not. It looks easy on paper, but when you actually go there, it means taking the catwalks down. It was very labor intensive. He had an idea of how to value engineer that and make that easier, but anyway, so we decided to delete or make that a deletable part of this bid so we could move forward with the filters if the numbers still were big, and we could do that separately under a different contract. So that was the big concession that we kind of took out of the contract. Work needs to be done, but maybe a better way to do it. That was that.
Okay, anything else? We'll move on. Excuse me, New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Grant.
We discussed that at last meeting. $2 million up. New York State has made available grants up to $2 million or 60% of the project's valuation, whichever's less, for infrastructure improvement work. At last meeting, I think the guidance that I got from the board was, let's throw 3 applications together, one high, one low, one in the middle. The truth was, as Al and I got looking through the criteria and the restrictions on what this money could be used for and what it couldn't be used for, a lot of the projects that we would have proposed as the high and the low end kind of fell off the table. Because you can't use it for anything having to do with a dam or a reservoir. So there's Cooper Lake. You really couldn't use it for anything that you financed through the DWSRF to refinance prior, that was done prior to 2015. As we got through all these, one project kind of made an appearance, and that was, we know that when CDM identified a hydraulic restriction in the Vinnie Water line. Vinnie Water is very critical to our operation. Built in 1927, there's one main in and one main out. If anything happens to that, the city would be out of water very quickly. So working with CDM, the other issue was we had a very short time frame to prepare this grant. It has to be submitted in a fairly complete fashion by September 4th. Given all that, the project we put together calls for lining of the 18-inch transmission main that broke 2 weeks ago, up and above the filter plant. That's an 1883 water main that broke. We made the repair, but I think the joints are probably blown out. We had to take it out of service. So that means we no longer have a redundant feed to the treatment plant.
So that main comes from where to where?
It comes from Reservoir 1, although it has Cooper Lake water in it. It runs 1,600 feet from below Reservoir 1 to the filter plant. So 20 and an 18 that repair on. So the 18 is currently out of service. And so part of the grant proposal would talk about lining that. When we had the transmission...
From Reservoir 1 to the 2?
Yes, 1,600 feet on that.
Just that line or both lines?
Just that line. The other line is a much more robust 20-inch main that was installed many years later. This was, even though they're both probably pit cast iron, the other one was Class A pipe, which is the thinnest wall pipe. We've always known it's been very fragile. Always known that.
The 18-inch.
The 18-inch, always. We've always been very careful about the pressures we ran the plant at, made sure we didn't back water up. And we actually did. That's what I actually heard. I felt the break. I was standing on the plant floor. You could feel it pop, pop. And the plant looked like this. That's not good. Anyway, the 20-inch main is made out of something different. The estimate for that portion of the project would be about $900,000, and to install some isolation valves at the same time. The break that we had in February on the transmission main, we couldn't, even though we made the repair under pretty adverse conditions, the old valves we know at Jockey Hill need to be replaced, so that there's about $84,000 in there for that. But the biggest component of this grant would be redundant lines for the 24-inch, the 20-inch influent into Vinnie Water, and the 24-inch effluent out of Vinnie Water. We'd have the easements, it would just be installation of new mains. So, and some control valves on the bottom so they could be isolated.
How many miles of pipe is that?
1,200 feet. Each line, it's from the thruway, by this shoulder of the thruway along Sauk Hill Road to the top of the hill.
Okay.
So it's about 1,200 feet. That's about 2.4 million. So together we have a project of 3.3 million, which it doesn't make sense to put a project together for this grant that's really much more expensive than that, because the most they're going to give us is $2 million, and we still have to come up with 60%, and that brings us right around that 3.3.
You have to come up with 60% or 40%?
We have to come up with 40. They're going to provide 60. Sorry. So that's the project. What I'd ask is authorization to go to the council for the bond for that. And we've looked at the...
So you're looking for a bond of about $1.3 million or $1.4 million?
Well, we need a bond for the whole thing. The 3 point... You have to get a bond authorization for the entire amount, knowing that If we're successful, 2 million of it's gonna come from the grant, and the rest would be funded through a low-cost DWSRF loan.
Okay.
As I say, Al and I have been working on various parts of the application. I'm pretty confident we'll have the whole thing submitted. We won't have the bond resolution from the council by then because of the process. You know, it wouldn't be till October that I would, at the October, if we were successful, the council agrees and grants the bond, we wouldn't have that approval till the October council meeting.
So you need a motion right now
Yes,
to move forward with proceeding
yes.
of a grant where the contracting would be the equivalent of $3.4 million or $3.5 million? Or up to 3.4?
Yes, yes, and yes, 3.384.
Let's say 3.35.
Yep.
3.5.
Yep, be fine. Yep. And yes, I would like a resolution authorizing me to go to the council on the board's behalf and try to secure that authorization for them.
And if we are not successful in getting the grant,
Right.
are we still going through with?
That's up to you. Al and I talked about that. That's really a board decision.
When will we know projects that are awarded?
I don't know. Al, do you have a
They,
sense of
they
that?
haven't given us a sense of time
No.
in terms of the
No,
award
they haven't.
dates at this yet. The whole application and grant actually approval for the EFC to administer was very recent. It was just really
We had about 60 days to get everything in.
about a month.
So you don't even know when they're going to be awarding any of this,
No
any of
idea.
these projects.
No idea.
But you need to have bond approval before you can submit the application.
No. As I read, and as Al pointed out, as we read the guidance, and this is, my sense is that DOH and EFC are doing this sort of by the seat of their pants. They're kind of, this is kind of an evolving issue because it was brand new for them as well. So, I've had the conversation with you that I, wrote Mike Montisco from DOH 4 or 5 questions about this that Al and I put together, and it took 3 weeks to get an answer, and he called up and he apologized. Mike is not, he's usually pretty prompt. He said he had to, by the time he kicked it up his food chain and over to EFC and back down their food chain, it took that long to get an answer, because he said, it's a new program, we wanted to make sure we gave you the right guidance. So, I don't have a sense, but I know that any bond authorization has a time limit. If we don't access funds and actually get a bond, I don't know if it's a year or 2 years, but within you'd have to go back through the process again.
So, and then in the motion that I'm making, I'd like to include the detail
Okay.
where you described that work will be done. Well, meaning the fight from one
Oh,
to
yes,
the
yes,
other.
yes.
Project
I'm sorry.
specs.
Yes,
The process specs, so it's
Absolutely.
included in the motion.
and I have a copy of a project description that I can
Please.
provide to everybody. Yes. And the engineering report that Tom will be providing us, I actually have that in draft form as well. The other issue with, and I apologize, it's upstairs, but I have it on my desk, and I'll give you, before everybody leaves, I'll give you the project description.
Oh, you have a motion.
It's a critical thing that we look at this very intently,
Absolutely.
because without that pipe, it flows for, I don't know.
When the SCADA system malfunctioned and closed the valves at the new UV plant, we had no pressure in the distribution system within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
kind of, yes, I would say it's priority. I think it is,
Yeah,
so.
very much so.
You need a second.
Okay, we need a
I'll
second.
second.
Dennis, second on Abel's motion. All in favor?
Aye.
One of the reason that was the project, they're using the DWS RF scoring system, which is, if you have a violation, you get 100 points. You have to be above the project funding line. So we put together the project that we thought would have the most direct public benefit for the entire city. as opposed to something in one neighborhood or another. So we sort of tried to do that.
Well, we don't have any specific violations though on any of these three projects.
But you've had a failure.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
And
Well, I'm just trying to see if there's ways to get more points. Actually, a violation isn't a bad thing.
Right, the argument is.
I did include in the project description that when the valves did close, we did have a boil water notice because we lost pressure. That's
Okay.
25 points right there.
Okay.
That's
I
a
mean,
non-sanitary code violation. I did include that in so that, you know, you have to lead them sometimes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if we can use any specific violations to bolster the point values to get us
Dennis,
up on funding.
before you leave, I will give you the project description, which mirrors the draft of Tom's engineering report. Review it like we did the other one, and we will amend it, because
Okay.
having lived that life, you know it better than I do.
Great. Great. Okay, the treatment plant wash tower.
You got the bid summary. We just need a motion to approve. Oh.
Yeah,
No, I haven't already. We received 2 bids on the backwash tank. The low bid was the statewide aqua store, which was 1.218,700. The other one was slightly more than that. Ironically, they're both on the same tank, they're just different contractors. Tom, the recommendation of CDM Smith is that we go with this bid. I mean, this is within the project budget. This was well within the engineering estimate.
So you need a motion to authorize
Award the bids.
award the
Award
bid
bids.
to statewide
Yeah.
aqua store.
Yeah.
$1,218,700.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Abel, second. Bob? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And carried.
Can we just go back to the grant? The other thing that I'd like the board to consider is one of the requirements is we have to do the state environmental quality review determination. Since this project proposes to replace, rehabilitate, or reconstruct critical sections of the transmission main system from Reservoir 1 to Vinnie Water, it's essentially a maintenance and repair project at 3 locations. Anytime we're going to open the local roads or right-of-way, they're for the sole purpose of the repair and maintenance of the existing utility facilities. And I'm saying it this way on purpose because that mirrors the state law. And it does not involve the expansion of our distribution system or service area and will not increase the flow from our sources or an increase in our production. So we're not going to be using any more water as a result of this project. Therefore, this project should be determined to be a Type 2 action under seeker as identified in Part 617.5 C1, 2, and 5. And as such, no further environmental review is required for this project. So I would like the board to consider making that, declaring this a Type 2 action.
I'll make the motion to declare it type 2
Bob?
action.
Second by Dennis.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody
And
in
in favor, carried.
favor? Aye.
All right.
And that's important because when Al goes to the bond council, that has to be included in there. Sorry about
All
that.
righty.
Sorry.
All right, thank you for reminding us, putting it in there. We're on the road. Okay, correspondence, any?
Yeah, I included a letter from
Yep.
a person who purchased a home and
Yeah.
neglected to have a final reading, and I took the liberty of crafting your response.
Is there any reason why they didn't request a final reading?
The man acted as his own attorney. And he did have a title search, and they called up and found out current charges, but that's not the same as a final reading. So there was a leak that developed either It's impossible to know when the leak developed. It was picked up on his first reading.
I mean, so this is just not an overdue charge, this is,
No.
okay.
He bought a vacant property. We were getting regular readings, so there was minimums, and on his, he took possession, there was no final reading, there was no, and on his very first next bill, it was $900. And now I believe there was a frozen meter there as well. I'm not sure of the details on what the leak was about.
I don't recall, but it was 4 quarters
Yeah.
of charges,
Yeah.
200 some dollars each quarter.
Right. So,
So do you need anything from us?
I don't think so. I mean, we never have in the past. I just wanted, all correspondence.
Mhm.
And I would like, Joe, I'll sign the letter when we get a chance and leave that out. And we'll send it off.
No problem. And superintendent report.
Anything else?
I have a couple things, but that's up to you what order you're going.
Well, I have a couple of questions just on some stuff from last meeting.
Okay.
The filter plant line building roof,
Ah!
where are we with that? Did we
Well,
authorize-
that was one of the items I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay,
When Derek contacted the companies, the company
and we awarded the bid
he
to.
awarded the bid to, he obtained these bids in the fall, and the price of the material has gone up by $1,300. I said, that's significant, I have to go back to the board. He also contacted the other company, and their materials have also gone up. So it will be 13, if we decide to move forward, and then when it rains, it leaks like a sieve.
So even though we accepted the bids, we're not under, we didn't go to contract.
No, he said, can I do it? I said, no. I said, the board only authorized up to a certain amount. And this isn't like a $20 or $50, this is $1,300 more than we approved. So,
It was not 15,000 or something like that.
I believe it was 14, I believe it was,
It's in the minutes.
yeah.
And it was,
13,000. So now at least,
That's double.
now it's 14,300.
Well, it's gotta be done, so I'll make the motion to,
Yes, I appreciate that.
Yes. Motion made.
So what's the motion now?
Go ahead.
motion to do the repair to the
Do the
14,000.
repair.
$300. That's the new cost.
Got a second on that?
One second.
Bob will second it. In favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right, carried. All right. Don't have
Any
anything
questions?
else in the superintendent report? Then we will go to executive session.
I think you have more questions, Dennis?
Well, I guess we haven't spoken to Bill Cloonard about the $100 meter charge from last month also, right?
No, we have not, and I told
No.
those folks that because you weren't able to speak to him last month, and you weren't able, you won't be here this month. And they've already paid the charge, so,
Okay.
they're more than, they understand the weight.
Hey, I ask you to do us a favor.
Yep.
For the purpose of a new member, on your first page here, go through the key system performance indicators. So she's comfortable looking at this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. what I do is I've tried to come up with, and this can be changed if there's other information that, you think makes more sense. We try to show you the last 5 quarters what our production from our plant is and what our consumption is. And you'll see that there's a delta. And the delta is either leakage or under registration in meters. I'd like those, the goal is to get those numbers to be as close as possible. We put it out there just to show you that we're working there, but we're certainly far from where we need to be. Some of that water could also be other municipal, like fires or street sweeping and that kind of stuff. We kind of give you an update on the budget, where we stand, and that's included in the report at the end. It's on a separate page, not in my report, but you always get a copy of the budget to actuals. Summary of the cash flows. How accounts, are we losing accounts, are we getting, how many water accounts do we have? That number stays about the same, but there's some churn.
That's actually a large number of new accounts in 1 month, isn't it?
It kind of is,
Yeah.
and they're mostly landlords splitting their meters. We're trying to make, the landlords, the trend seems to be to make the tenants pay for the water. So if you have a 3-unit apartment house in the city, if you can, you like to, for the cost of, installing the 3 meters, we'll do it that way. Just how many people, we have the option of paying by credit card, and how many accounts. We run a laboratory for coliform analysis. So this is, it's about $75,000 in revenue a year that we make through that laboratory.
Where is your laboratory run out of?
Our plant, our treatment plant. We open it to we do an awful lot of Ulster County Health Department samples. We do community samples, private samples, as well as our own. For security purposes, all the samples get brought in here and picked up here and are just analyzed up there. The public can't go there anymore, thanks to 9/11. And it's generally a summary of all the other analysis that we've done. We're still getting, we had another frozen meter we discovered today. Temperatures have not been below freezing in a long time, but new people, vacant property, just purchased on Henry Street, meter was split, was frozen during the winter, so we kind of give you a summary of how many new sets frozen, stopped, how many radios we put in, water mains.
Radio meaning what?
Huh?
Radio meaning what?
Radio read meters, so that we could read them driving by remotely. Mm-hmm. All our meters can be read from the outside, but some of them we actually have to go to the house and touch the button. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to transition over to a radio system where we can actually drive down the street and read 3 blocks in either direction.
So you're doing that right now? You're reading by radio?
Some areas we are,
okay.
But mostly it's still touch reading. Mm-hmm. I would say we probably have about 1,500 radios in. Would you not agree with that number, Al? Out of 7,900 accounts.
Okay.
We'd love to be 100% radio because it would be much more efficient.
Yes.
But the cost, it would be about $750,000 to convert the entire system. So we just haven't done that.
So how do you decide which ones get radioed?
The first way we knocked them off was dangerous places. Dogs.
That's what I was thinking. I have 3 dogs.
I do too, but dogs, inaccessibility. We on the Sawkill Road, we have customers. In order to read them, you have to back in and out of driveways. It's dangerous. We've tried to. So once we get past those, then we try to backfill so it makes sense. So we'll do an entire neighborhood so that we have what we call a car book, so that we can actually use the computer instead of walking down the street and picking up the radios on that street. We try to consolidate it to make it more efficient. So I think we're working on Zone 4 now. I'm not sure.
What does it entail to put a radio transmitting meter in?
It's incredibly easy. There's a radio transmitter unit, and it snaps on the button. So if you can walk and you can snap them on, you can do the whole system relatively quick. It's the fact that those, what are the radios now, 200 and some odd dollars?
Radios are about $150.
$150. So, we could do more. We try to budget $50,000 a year to do, and, you know, hopefully we'll get there. We've been pecking at it, but,
5 years.
yeah. I am working with, and I haven't had the time recently, I owe him some information, but Johnson Controls has come in to do an efficiency audit, and one of the things they will look at is the conversion to radio read as an efficiency, and if that can look at payback this. It's a kind of a no, it doesn't cost us anything to have this conversation with them, so we're doing that to see if there's an advantage in having a service contract with them to do that. And when I have some other information, I'll bring it for the board's consideration.
What's the meter reader cost a year?
Well, the meter reader, we have two, we need one. We have a foreman. Would you agree with that, Al? We could consolidate that into one position? I would be able to reutilize that meter reader or the foreman somewhere else in the system. You're absolutely right. We could save $50,000 salary plus benefits.
When you install a new meter, do you install a radio with a new meter or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. It depends on where it is.
And do we have like a lot of radios purchased to be installed, or how do you go about having a stock of radios?
It's part of our inventory. I mean, I don't know how many he has on hand at a time, 10 or 15 maybe. We might buy 50 at a clip, and he might have places for most of those, and then he has some sitting on the shelf. You know, one of the issues with the radios is you don't want to buy them too far in advance. Same thing with the new meters, because the warranty's on the radio, the battery in the radio, and you don't want to have them sitting there for 4 years before you install them, because that decreases your warranty.
Okay, so they operate off a battery. So we have to go around and change batteries then every.
They're like 20 years.
Oh.
It's like 20 years. So I won't be changing them.
Al changes.
He'll be changing it. Al's going to be here changing them.
You got it, Joe.
Maybe I will. You never know. But yes, the new meters, unfortunately, old meters, we used to be able to clean them, rebuild them, get parts for them, and they were good as new. Because of the no lead, the changes in the lead brass that were passed in January of 2014, we're not able to do that anymore, and the meters are basically disposable. You know, after 7 years, you got to buy a new meter. It's like your car, it's planned obsolescence. It's not a positive change from my perspective, but I mean, a low lead thing is a positive issue. But all the meters are now becoming plastic and disposable.
And it lasts 7 years?
It lasts maybe 15. I'll have a 15-year warranty on.
Yeah.
But when the battery in them dies, they're done. And there's no fix them, no replace them.
You mean the radio meter?
No, there's a battery in their new meters as well.
Oh, okay.
Others used to be positive displacement,
Yes.
so something actually spun.
Yes.
This is different. It's a whole different thing. Unfortunately, I don't do that as a positive change, but it is what it is, because they're all the manufacturers are going to it. This is a good time to bring up, if you don't mind, and Kevin is on vacation, but we do plan to make some changes in this report moving forward, because we're going to go to a regular balance sheet with a trial balance. And the transition is, for this year it's awkward because the budget wasn't based on this exactly, and there is some discrepancies. So I think when Kevin comes back, Al and I and Kevin will sit down and figure out how we're going to deal with that for the balance of this year, and then moving forward. But one of the recommendations from the auditors is to, at least on a quarterly basis, give everybody assets, liabilities, a whole balance sheet. cash flows, that kind of thing, in a much more formal way. I don't think we need to provide the trial balance, but we can. So we'll be looking at making some changes in this, and so we'll run that. Hopefully next month we can discuss that with you, so we can know what we're doing in 2016.
Good.
I just had one other, I mean, I don't know where we are in terms of the superintendent. You want to do the superintendent's report?
We're doing.
Yeah, we're kind of going through it, I guess,
Okay, fine.
as it was. Your maintenance distribution, you have 2 taps,
Yep.
and they were at the sinkhole.
Yes, they were.
Okay, so are these temporary
Yes.
utility services?
Temporary utilities for the, I think it's 10 folks on both sides of the street that wouldn't have any water. They had to do temporary sewer and temporary hookups for Central Hudson, I believe.
And for us, or not for us?
Yes, water. They took the water mains right out. Yes.
So these temporary water lines are,
What they did was they actually did it in a positive way. My concern when I heard about it was that when you feed people water in July and August out of a garden hose, it becomes really unpalatable very quickly. They didn't do that. They ran the lines just under the ground after the tap and connected into their existing curb stops. So the whole water system, all their water lines are running underground. So they're somewhat insulated.
but not under frost, below frost level?
No, they're not. And that's an issue. They're down a little bit because to get to the curb on the curb stop, they have to be down about 4 feet. But we discussed that, and it's up to the contractor to insulate them, make sure they don't freeze.
Are they going to be done hopefully before? Who knows, maybe about 4 years.
They're finding obstacles as they go. In fact, I met with them yesterday and today. The main on Delta Place, the water main on Delta Place in Hewitt, never got picked up by their surveyors, and they were going to put their storm line through it. They have a 48-inch storm line. I mean, they figured it out beforehand. So they're going to have to move our water main. They're going to have to offset it down below and up in both places. So it's not easy. Fortunately, they have a very good contractor out there. I mean, this guy is really pretty sharp and very cooperative. And we talked to him on Delta to putting a valve here and a valve here. They can take that section of water main right out while they do their work and then reinstall it. And nobody's out of service. We're hoping that they can do the same thing on Hewitt, but it's going to be a little more challenging. They're going to have to figure it out. Or they're going to have to provide temporary services to people. Because I was pretty clear that, we could have people will tolerate, if they know in advance, a several-hour disruption to make a change. But you couldn't leave people, for more than that without water. So yeah, I don't know when they're going to have the water service restored over there.
You got any questions?
Anything?
Oh, I have lots of questions.
Okay.
Well, but I mean, I'm gonna have to just go and do some research.
That's fine.
How's your website? Do you have a website of a lot of information on
We
it?
have a web page, yes, that it's got information on it, but whatever other information you want, email me, call out, whatever, we'll get it to you.
Okay.
Because, records we got, reports, information. I have a packet of information that I can give you that I provided to Abel,
Okay.
and I'll provide you with the same one. I just didn't know how to get it to you
Okay.
until we met, so.
Okay, thank you. How long have you been on the board?
June.
You're the
I've been
new-
living in Kingston my whole life, so.
And what about the rest of you guys?
Well, you've been on for almost 7.
How many?
Forever.
Forever?
Part of the furniture. How long you known it, Joe?
34
40.
years, 34 years.
Okay.
40.
So you would be a good source to go to.
He came on the board the month, in May, and I was hired in August, so we've been hanging out for a long time.
Okay, yeah.
It's my fault, she's
Well, you
I'm trying to figure out how long.
You're relatively new.
Yeah,
I don't know, 7, 8 years,
Yeah, something like
2
that.
terms.
Yeah, two, okay.
You've only been 7 or 8 years? I've been less than that. I thought I was here even longer than,
They're both Satile appointments, I
yeah.
believe. They're Satile.
And what's your background, Dennis, so she knows?
Well, I worked for the state health department for 27 years. So a lot of what I did was actually regulating public water supplies.
Okay.
So I was somewhat knowledgeable in a large part of the state sanitary code that regulates not only water supplies, but restaurants and swimming pools and children's camps and all sorts of things.
Bob, what was your background?
I worked for New York City for about 35 years as water quality control chemist.
Okay.
And you're a chemistry teacher,
Yes, I was a chemist before I was a chemistry teacher and
so you guys have something in
teach
common.
AP in chemistry, and I used to teach AP environmental. And
I went to prison for 20 years.
You taught there.
He's a teacher, he's an educator.
I was a teacher in state prison.
okay.
Try to keep that on the down low because you never know who's listening in. And I mean, thank God I never had any problems. That was it.
Yeah.
Even though it was a major league facility.
Scary place. I went there once, I teach a little in-service education on how you do your well and that kind of thing. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. Could not get out of there fast enough.
Well, I brought my son down when he was a teenager and a couple friends. My son can still remember a few of my students that he met.
That was enough for me. That's enough.
I'm glad that he can. I think that.
But my point in saying that, don't hesitate to ask.
Oh, no,
Yes,
no.
oh, yes. Please do.
And
Ask.
one of the disadvantages in being as tenured as I am is that I forget to say stuff. 'Cause it's second nature to me. Just like the bench thing. I knew what I meant.
Well, I was taking the other side of the fence.
Oh, you're not the only
well,
one.
I'm the only one. I circled it with a question
You're
mark.
not the only one.
That's the first thing in my mind was a
Well,
park bench next to the box.
No.
you know what
Yeah,
happened?
exactly.
I still got the prison in my head. Thinking ahead and thinking.
So we don't need anything with the superintendent's report?
Just to prove.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need a motion to approve stuff that was submitted.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the superintendent's report as submitted.
And I'll second that.
And second by Dennis. And Carrie. All right.
The one other
Yeah.
addition I had, and unfortunately it involves spending more money, but the phone system.
What else is new?
I know. The plant phone system died several months ago. And we have had a workaround where they have about 8 portable phones that, one line is on this phone and one line's on that, and the gate's on it because it's a gated facility, and the camera to let you in is on, it just goes through the phone. So anyway, we have a proposal for a new phone system, and it took us a while to review it because there were some things in there that turned out to be very much not needed. So the new phone system, the motherboard on the other one died. It's just really not worth fixing. The phone system is $6,060. By comparison, what was it plus the phone system for here?
It's about 7,500.
This isn't a whole lot cheaper. It's voice over IP, 3 desk sets, portable. And that's about it. So they're juggling. They really need it.
How long will it take to get it installed?
Not long, because we're using WebJogger. We found in our In our experience with looking at our phone system, we went out, worked with Kyle, the Macintosh, the IT person for the city, and these guys are by far the cheapest and they're local. And so we did the same thing with them, and they were very responsive. So I think it's a question of just ordering the stuff, getting it in. Other advantage to us is that it will be 4-digit dialing between here and the plant. So if we wanted to talk to something, not that that's a big deal.
Well, it is, when you think about it.
It is, you know, we'll be able, they're not going to be linked,
Yes, I understand.
but they'll be compatible. You explained all that now.
So this is through WebJogger then?
It is through WebJogger, yes.
How many dollars is it?
$6,060. It was 7,700, and we eliminated. I said, how many desk sites are we looking at? That we need. And so Derek and I worked it over.
But you need a future one you could add it.
Yes, absolutely, and that was the other advantage. Like ours, they're generic handsets, so you can. If we don't want to buy them through WebJogger, we can go online and buy them and just add them in. So yes, it's not proprietary like some of the other systems we looked at. Some of the,
I'll make a motion for $6,060 for a new phone system for the treatment plant.
By Abel, second. Dennis?
I have to tell you, nobody,
Karen?
when you call up there, it takes forever for them to answer the phone because nobody can find which portable they got to answer. They know something's ringing, they just don't know where. There's about 12 phones they're looking at.
Well, hope to get this done right away.
Yeah, they will. I appreciate that. That's all I got.
That's all?
That's it.
Any
Okay.
for executive session?
So now
Yeah.
we're
We
ready.
have a question here from our visitors.
Hi,
And who are you?
Mary McNamara.
Where are you from?
I live in Saugerties, but I've lived in 3 different municipalities in the region. And Judy and I go back to the early days of the Sauk Hill Watershed Alliance. And I just wanted to bring to your attention, in case you weren't aware of it, a beaver kill report that came out online 2 weeks ago. And I brought...
Which beaver kill? I'm not trying to even...
That was the prior discussion.
That's what we just
had,
had
I think,
discussion
Mary,
up here.
before
You
you
might have
came.
heard it. Because there's one in Sullivan County and one
The
here.
beaver kill where the intake valve is that leads to Cooper Lake. And and that's also called meat collar. So there are 9 units in the report, and unit 9, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7, and I believe 6 all relate to the area that above the intake valve. So I thought that it would be of interest to the board, and possibly you already are aware of it. It was finished in April 15th, and it began around 2011 before Irene and Lee, and they were able to do a second walkover afterwards. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share this with you all.
Certainly.
So there's one copy of part of the report, and this is part of the information, and this shows you where you can find it online.
Could you do me a favor and give Al your name and address? This way he has it in the minutes.
And I signed in before.
Oh,
I
okay,
came.
you got it. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I have it?
I'm also with the Ashokan News Working Group, so.
I have these. Yeah. We have those.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anyone else?
My sis, Mr. Quigley.
Oh,
I don't have the pleasure of meeting you, but I'm Jim Quigley, the supervisor of Town of Ulster.
Joanne Sesh.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Every dollar you spend, I get the privilege of paying 30 cents of. So I'm here to represent the Town of Ulster,
They're one of our customers.
the largest customer. I'm here, as you know, we've had a meeting in reference to the relationship between the town and the Kingston Water Department and the contract stemming from 2004. I have had the privilege before of talking to this board about the budgetary requirements of the town and our deadlines, which are September 30th. And Al has been very helpful in providing some guidance numbers on what the expected rate increases will be for next year. But as I sit here and I listen to you talk about going to the Common Council for another $3 million worth of bonding, for a project I don't believe was on the plan, was it?
Part of it is, yes, the recent addition this year was the intake lines, yes.
For those of you who haven't attended our meetings, I have prepared a 5-year financial forecast for the Ulster Water Districts using the publicly available information that Judy has put up on the City of Kingston's website in the capital plan as to the effect of future borrowings on the rate base. And I've also, in consultation with Judy, have added 3.5% for a ingrown expense increase factor for your operating budget. So taking 3.5% plus the rates that are set forth in the capital plan, reflecting the borrowings that were contemplated based upon the work contemplated in that plan, and then adding to it our own capital requirements, we're looking at between a 50 and 75% rate increase over the next 5 years in the town halls. So what I would like to ask is for consideration as you add to the capital plan and you add additional borrowings, that you keep us in the information loop and provide to us information as it will relate to the prospective rate increases that could potentially occur because of the repayments of these bond issues. I'm drowning now.
Jim, you would be available to go with Judy and I to visit with Chris Gibson, hopefully around September the 18th, which is a Friday, about this type of issue.
I'd love to, but I'm in Boston, getting on a boat to go to Nova Scotia.
Okay, well, maybe it'll be a different day.
Okay.
That's just what was sort of thrown out there.
I will make myself available anytime, any place,
Okay.
because we
But
are
the
we
issue
are
you're-
partners in
Yeah,
this.
no question. But the issue you're talking about is a huge issue.
Mhm.
Not just for Kingston, but it needs a federal, and it needs a statewide program to address some of this stuff.
And Jim, I don't, because my back is to you guys, I don't know when you walked in, but that 3.3 is part of that loan grant application?
We all have our eyes on the same
No, I
target.
understand that, and who knows? I mean,
And
we
who
may not be
knows?
successful, and if we're not successful, that doesn't mean that this board will go forward with that at this time.
No, I understand
Okay,
that, but
just so you
but
just-
I am saying
Right.
that as these actions are contemplated, we need to be kept abreast of the potential rate increases in
Absolutely.
the town, because, as I said, we have problems. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Got it.
Caggiano disappeared.
I think it was his phone might have gone off.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
We gotta go to executive session now then?
I kind of thought we were.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Take it easy.
You.
See you, Jim.
See you
Nice seeing
later.
you.
Yeah.
Am I all
Thank-
set, or am I staying?
Yeah, why don't you
Stay a minute.
Stay for a
Right,
minute,
come on,
stay
Jim.
for a second. Yeah, there's one.
All right.
Can I just have the reason you're going, what the reason?
Yes, personnel issues to talk
To the
about.
chair?
Pardon me?
The chair, the reason?
I'm s-
The reason of going in, I was gonna go through the chair, because.
Go ahead. Why are we going?
Personnel issues.
Okay. All right, thank you.